It's the Open Bedroom Door Show.
I'm Angela Skirtu, and I open bedroom doors. Welcome to the Open Bedroom Doors Show. Real talk for real relationships. I'm your host, Angela Skirtu, your friendly neighborhood sex therapist and licensed marriage therapist. And yes, talking about sex is literally my job. I started this show because, let's be real, most of us didn't get sex education. We're out here fumbling through love, intimacy, and awkward bedroom moments with zero guidance and a lot of shame. Time to fix that. Here's what you can expect every episode. Sex positions. We start off hot by judging something wild, weird, or just plain wrong in the media or culture. You'll laugh, you'll cringe, you might even learn something. Next, we move to guest interviews. I chat with fascinating folks, sexperts, storytellers, and everyday humans with juicy stories and powerful insights. And then, of course, we have to have a happy ending. Yep, we finish strong. I answer real questions from real people about sex, relationships, and all the stuff you're too afraid to ask your therapist or anyone else for that matter. But I'm here, so ask away. If you're ready to laugh, learn, and finally talk about the stuff no one ever taught us, hit play. Let's open that bedroom door, shall we? Sex doesn't stop at the third trimester, but it does get creative. Welcome to Sex Positions. This is the Open Bedroom Door Show, and on this segment, what I like to do is judge things as a sex therapist that are happening in media and society that are related to sex. And I'm your resident sex therapist. Hey! If you want to see my actual sex positions in real time, go to youtube.com/@openbedroomdoors. Please like, subscribe, and comment to keep getting access to my different sex positions. One of the things that happens when you are pregnant and things change is that you're not always actually interested in pregnant penetration sex, right? So one of the things everybody who's pregnant is struggling with is just being tired and feeling exhausted and not knowing what to do in terms of actual physical body energy. And so one of the things I want to remind you of is that there are other sex acts. I do have some puppets with me because the social medias don't like real looking things. So this fake penis puppet and my vulva puppet are going to be here to help me out. And one of the things I want to remind you of is that sex can be about an intimate act like going down on each other or just giving each other sexual massages, right? And so if you're using, if you want it to be genital focused, then a massage can just be, say you're hanging here, here's me laying on the bed, right? Relaxing, but maybe your partner is next to you and you're just kind of enjoying, just gently touching them just to make them feel good, right? A little nice touch, or vice versa. If your partner is a vulva owner, I don't care who they are or what they are. I just want to support you in your lovemaking excursions. So essentially, you can just be kind of gently rubbing somebody, or if you are pregnant, you kind of be here. I guess this is a pregnancy pose, isn't it? Legs up, right? You don't necessarily need to get into OBGYN straps or anything, but I'm just saying, you can be in whatever pose you feel good in, and the intimate act can be a variety of things. It doesn't have to look like your typical penetrative sex. And what I really want you to think about is getting creative with what you're doing, how you're doing it, and being open and honest with your partner about how you're doing it. Because the easier it is to just talk to each other, the better your sexual experience is going to be. If you want a bed, guess what? We are filming our sex positions here at Mattress Dogs. This is a mattress furniture store, and I am thankful for Mattress Dogs for letting me do my sex positions event in bed. Use promo code SEXYTIME, and you can get your next bed here tax-free. We're always looking for sponsors. So if you would like to become a sponsor for the show or for the sex position segment, please go to openbedroomdoors.com and check out our sponsorship page. And we will, if you become one of our sponsors, we'll even let you pick the position. Welcome to the Open Bedroom Doors Show. I am your host, Angela Skirtu, and with me, I have David Lay. David Lay, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Clinical psychologist, sex therapist, author of some books, and general troublemaker. Which is why I get along so well with you, Angela.
That is the perfect intro. I love it. All right. Well, David, let's get right into it. I want to hear all about forensic sexology because that's your jam. Tell us about what to expect in that world.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I like so many things, I just kind of fell into it. After I published my second book, The Myth of Sex Addiction, I started getting asked to testify in cases with people that were, claiming to be sex addicts and trying to use that to avoid, legal problems. So, for instance, in Ohio, twice I testified before the Ohio Supreme Court because there were attorneys who had gotten caught having sex with clients that they weren't supposed to have. Or one guy was known as the naked photographer. This guy would wear a trench coat. He would jump out on the sidewalk and flash people, women particularly, and then he would take pictures of their surprised expressions. Surprise! It turns out this guy's an attorney. And so when he gets arrested, he loses his bar license, his license to practice law, and he later tried to get the license back by claiming he was a sex addict and it wasn't his fault that he was doing these behaviors. So I was brought in to testify. I want to say that was 12 or almost 15 years ago. And the fascinating thing is that over this period of time, legal cases around sexuality have just exploded, and I am now testifying around the world, Germany, Asia, across the United States, Canada, in cases related to sexuality. And it's fascinating. Every case is different. And every case, my job really is to educate the jury and the judge and the attorneys so that they are making decisions based upon an accurate understanding of sexuality and not slut shaming or thinking that people are just perverts. I was supposed to testify in a really big case just a couple of weeks ago in New York of the One Taste trial. And this was a female orgasmic, meditation practice that kind of turned sort of culty. Netflix made this crazy documentary about it that turned out to be based on a lot of fraudulent information. And I was going to be testifying, normalizing consensual non-monogamy, female sexuality, relating this orgasmic meditation practice to things like sensate focus or non goal focused sexual behaviors. And ultimately, I didn't testify because frankly, the case was extremely biased against the women who were convicted and maybe sentenced up to 20 years for teaching women how to orgasm. It was and the case was much more complicated than that. I'm simplifying it, but what I am seeing, and when you talk more, I mean, there are other just wild cases, but sexuality issues are ending up in court in never before seen ways, and people need to be aware.
What do you think that's really interesting. So were these sex therapists that were being tried? Because I mean, it's my job to teach people to orgasm. Right. So I'm what occurred?
they were not sex therapists. I mean, orgasmic meditation or one taste, kind of the practice was that a woman would lie there, her lower body unclothed, and a partner, male or female, maybe in a relationship with her, maybe not, would use oil and wear a glove and rub her clitoris in a certain prescribed manner for a certain period of time, 13 minutes.
I think I saw that documentary.
Yeah. And they were tried. It turned into, like I said, it turned into kind of a cult, was, kind of a commune.
Because everybody wants to join cults these days.
Right. That's right. Sure. Why not? I mean, and they were prosecuted for, and I'm not an attorney. I spend a lot of time in court now, but they were prosecuted for conspiracy to commit forced labor, with the idea that they were using women's desire for sexual fulfillment and belonging and overcome histories of sexual trauma. They were using those elements to manipulate these women into engaging in kind of sales practices. It almost turned into like Amway, where once you join,
multi-layer marketing,
Yeah,
but
kind
that
of
with
a pyramid.
orgasms involved.
Yes. And so once you joined, you then started, selling memberships and getting other people to join. And what's fascinating, though, is conspiracy to commit forced labor is kind of like we had a plan to do it, but then they didn't charge them with actual forced labor, like they'd actually done it. And at trial, I mean, witnesses were even calling the women witches because they engaged in quote unquote sexual magic.
We're doing witch trials now, David? What?
Yes,
That's a witch trial.
Yes, and that's the wild thing is that we are seeing just this attack on sexual diversity, attack on female sexuality, and I do think a lot of it is driven by this kind of rise in more conservative politics and culture, but people with any sexuality that is somehow different from somebody else's, which is everybody.
Which everybody's different, by the way. Yeah, we should put a little PSA out, like the more you know.
Yes.
Everybody's a little different sexually.
And those differences are dragging people into court. It's wild. And the world has it ever been a safe place for sexuality or sexual diversity? No. The other thing that I'm seeing, again around the world, and you may be surprised to hear me say this, but it is related to the increased access to pornography. But we are seeing young people engaging in what I call varsity level sex that they're not prepared for. And
I know what
most
you mean.
often,
but for the people who are listening, what would you explain that as?
This is going to be rough sex and choking, engaging in quote unquote consensual non-consent kind of behaviors. But these behaviors and engaging in these behaviors for younger people in males is tied to watching pornography. In young females, it's tied. Most young females learn about choking from memes and social media. But what I'm seeing is two young people hook up. They may be in college or younger. They hook up. They have apparently consensual casual sex. But during the sex, one partner, most typically the male, starts choking the female partner or engaging in more rough sex, slapping, hitting, kind of throwing his partner around, etc. And his claim usually is, well, I thought she was into it. And then afterwards, charges are filed because she wasn't into it. And
they didn't talk about it. There was no consent conversation about it. But he's making these assumptions based on porn he's seen that like, oh, this is what she wants. So I'm just doing what they're showing me that they want.
That's right. Porn he's seen and past sex he's had with other people who maybe were into it or were okay with it. And didn't identify no or challenge. And again, what's super unfortunate is that these cases are ending up in courts with people who are very naive to BDSM, consent conversations, and frankly, what I'm telling people is, don't choke on a first date. Don't.
You hear it from David. Don't choke on a first date. Let's have a conversation.
Yes. Because unfortunately, these cases are, resulting in really significant criminal penalties. And of course, juries are naive to these issues. They're naive to how common, desire for rough sex or kinky sex is. They assume that good girls aren't into this, not knowing that rough sex is actually much more popular a fantasy in women than it is in men. So that's the kind of stuff I'm testifying about in court to help people understand these issues better and not just assume that this, because I've never done it, that means there must be something wrong with you for wanting to engage in it.
Well, David, that's exactly why I'm doing this show, because we have a lot of access now. So let's do a storyboard of back in the day when we were younger, right? So back when I was a kid, you found a porn mag in your dad's bedroom, and you hid
or
it
in
in
the
a tire.
woods, or in the dumpster.
Well, that's what I was saying. We would hide it in a tire in the woods and go
Yes.
look at it, so nobody would ever find it. But like,
Oh.
that's how we were introduced to most sexual like type behavior. You'd see it. Maybe you'd read something. Maybe you saw pictures, but that was it. This generation is so different. Like, we have access. You can get porn on Twitter. Like, there's access to it on different platforms. People are reading Reddit. There's so much access. And so but the thing that still continues to exist is no real conversation, no normalizing of that being a part of the sexual experience. They see these acts. They're like, oh, this is normal. And it's like, it can be. I'm not saying it's abnormal to want rough sex, because like, you know what, to each their own, right? But it is abnormal to be just going into these sexual experiences without any communication, without any talking and figuring out, like, learning your partner. Because even in rough sex, some women like rough sex with like hair pulling. Some women like rough sex with a choke, or not even a choke, just a little pressure. Like, even that, like those little nuances are the things people need to be getting together with and understanding, and they're not having that conversation. So I feel like this could be prevented. Like, I feel so bad for these people.
One of the things that I do a lot of is, a lot of research around pornography and the effects of pornography, et cetera. And, in fact, I can't even really talk about it other than to say, I was the lead expert on the pornography case that was in front of the Supreme Court in January. And that has gone back to the Texas court case and is kind of up in the air right now, which is why I can't really talk about my role in it. But
other than you were in it somehow.
Other than I was in it. My name and my report were in front of the Supreme Court, which is wild. But what we know is that the young people who are most likely to learn unhealthy lessons from pornography are the young people who think pornography is a realistic depiction of sex. Now, who are those kids? They are the kids who've grown up in households that don't talk about sex. They're the kids that have grown up in communities that are not providing adequate sex education. They're the kids who develop these unrealistic ideas of sex, thinking that pornography is real. Well, pornography is fantasy. I mean, I was on a plane last night and I watched, one of the Superman movies, and I think it was George Reeves was a Superman actor in the 1940s or 50s. And he developed mental illness, and he died jumping off a roof of a building in Hollywood, in his Superman costume, thinking he could fly. Movies, including porn, are fantasy. They depict a fantasy world where sex is easy. You don't have to work all that hard to give each other orgasms. You don't have to work hard to get an erection. You don't have to have
pizza guys getting laid all over the country.
That pizza guys, getting flashed all over the country.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, talk
That's
about
the job.
Talk about getting a tip, and
just the tip.
And fantasy is an escape. We watch fantasy, including porn, because we want a momentary escape from how challenging the world is and how difficult, sexual interaction with another partner can be, how much work it is. It's good work if you can get it, great. But the problem is that we have neglected these young people. We've engaged in gross social neglect. And now, as these young people are engaging in, again, varsity level sex that they don't have the foundation to engage in safely, unfortunately, we're then punishing them for it when it was our fault.
David, that's why I say, I've seen this again and again. Sex education is abuse prevention. It is abuse prevention. And like you said, gross neglect. Like, if we don't educate people on how to have these consent conversations, how to talk, how to like honor your body and even know what your body wants, there are all these unintentional, painful consequences. It is abuse prevention.
Yes.
And we are causing so much harm to this generation as a result of not talking directly, honestly, and really neutrally about sex. Because like, I don't even think it needs to be positive or negative. I think it needs to be a casual, neutral conversation. This is your body. This is how it works. This is you learning your body. Here's how you learn to trust yourself. When you approach it from that angle, then it's not like in people's fight or flight and they're like, there's sex in the room. It becomes a natural, normal conversation. And then they can actually have these consent conversations with a potential partner. But the way we're treating it is like it's a bomb in the room. And so even when people don't talk about it at all, people are terrified to talk about it because of the implicit message that's being sent about sex.
And it's even more insidious than that, Angela. I mean, when we treat sex as this, secret, shameful thing that we don't talk about, unfortunately, it then leads to children who get abused keeping the abuse secret because they think it's their fault.
David, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Angela.
That's too spicy. Well, guys, on the Open Bedroom Doors show, we often have content that's a little too spicy for your typical social media platforms. So for those of you who are like, I love everything Angela Skirtu and I want to know all the spicy details, we actually have a space where we put the uncut shows, and it is at patreon.com/openbedroomdoors. So you can subscribe to that channel and get all the behind the scenes, all that spicy stuff that I wasn't able to put in the show. That's too spicy. So I hope you can join me at patreon.com/openbedroomdoors. Keep in mind, that is how you support me. So it is a subscription channel where you have to pay to subscribe, but you are becoming a supporter of me and putting out this awesome content as a result. So please join me for those spicy, spicy things. Hey everyone, I'm Angela Skirtu, and on every show we answer one of the audience questions. And I have with me my BDSM bears. This is Barry Bonds and Consent Cub. They're here to support us as we answer questions, your audience questions. So this question is, when does one know that the relationship or marriage has reached its peak and that physical intimacy will probably always be a no? Wow, that is such a tough question. Thank you, one, for asking it, audience member. But two, so I would like to say, please at least seek some therapy before you make that decision. But honestly, even saying that, I don't like working with people who are on death's door, right? Like I would prefer people to come see me way before that. So how do you know, like if it's been years and you guys haven't been intimate and they're saying no, and even when you bring up the conversation, you say, hey, would you be interested in trying something? If they get aggressive or defensive and they're just like not interested, then you're probably at that space. And I know that's hard for some of you to hear, but the longer you go without intimacy, the harder it is to get back into intimacy. And I actually did an interview for my previous podcast about this where, I can't remember the guest's name, but she was talking about how after 2 years of no intimacy, it just gets harder and harder to come back to each other. So if you've had a good 2 years without any intimacy, I'd start with having a conversation with your partner, a genuine, kind one, not like a, you never have sex with me one, but where you actually say, hey, I need this as a part of my life. I don't want to spend the rest of my life being involuntarily celibate. I want intimacy. I need it. Are we going to get there or is it over? And if they really are at a place where they're done, then yeah, you reached your peak and it's time to go. Because it is okay for you to need sex. It's okay for you to want intimacy to be part of your life. And if your spouse isn't there, then okay. Like it's not fair to hold each other back and prevent each other from being intimate and having that part of your life fulfilled simply because one of you isn't there. And it is a hard truth. I'm sorry it's a hard truth, but like first you need to have the conversation so that you can know where you stand, and then you can make decisions from there. Now, sometimes people have that conversation and guess what? They decide they don't want to end things and they really do want to get help. And then that's when you come see me. So visit me at openbedroomdoors.com to like start working on that, because I do think that after having that conversation, a lot of people get to a point where they need help and they realize they need help that's not just the two of them. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of the Open Bedroom Doors Show. Real talk for real relationships. If you laughed, learned, or blushed a little, you're welcome. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend who needs a little more real talk in their life. Got a burning question about sex, love, or relationships? Check out openbedroomdoors.com and submit a contact form. Your question might just be featured in a future happy ending segment. Until next time, keep it honest, keep it sexy, and most of all, keep those bedroom doors open. Good night and have a sexy tomorrow.